Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here as we explore the fascinating world of applied anatomy. Today, we'll be focusing on the endocrine system, an essential part of our body's regulatory mechanisms. Over the next few minutes, we'll cover the basic structure and functions of the endocrine system, its key organs, and how it impacts overall health. So, let's get started and dive into this intriguing topic together. Endocrine glands are ductless glands, which means they don't have any tubes or ducts to carry their secretions. Instead, they release hormones directly into the bloodstream. These hormones then travel throughout the body to target specific organs or tissues. The main role of these glands is to help regulate critical functions such as growth, metabolism, reproduction, and maintaining the body's internal balance or homeostasis. Understanding how these glands work is fundamental, because they control so many vital processes that keep us healthy and functioning properly. This slide introduces the core idea that the endocrine system's primary function is hormone production and regulation, which we'll explore further as we go along. The hypothalamus is located just below the thalamus, making it a crucial part of the diencephalon, which is a key area in the brain responsible for many vital functions. One of the most important roles of the hypothalamus is that it contains nuclei. These are clusters of neurons that control the pituitary gland, often called the master gland of the body. This connection is essential because it helps regulate hormones that influence growth, metabolism, and reproduction. The hypothalamus is connected to the pituitary through a structure called the infundibulum, which acts like a stalk, allowing communication between these two parts. Understanding this connection helps us see how the brain controls many of our hormonal processes, tying into the larger theme of how the nervous and endocrine systems work together to maintain balance in the body. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. The pineal gland is a small but fascinating part of our brain, and it's located deep in the epithalamus. Inside it, you'll find specialized cells called pinealocytes, which are responsible for producing and secreting important hormones, as well as glial cells that support the function of these neurons. The most well-known hormone produced here is melatonin, which plays a crucial role in regulating our circadian rhythm, that is, our sleep-wake cycle. Essentially, when it gets dark, the pineal gland ramps up melatonin production, signaling to our body that it's time to sleep. Conversely, as daylight returns, melatonin levels drop, helping us wake up. Understanding the pineal gland's function helps us see how our body maintains a healthy cycle of rest and activity, which is vital for overall well-being. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. The pituitary gland, which is often called the master gland, is located in a small bony cavity called the sella turcica. It's connected directly to the hypothalamus, which plays a crucial role in controlling its functions. The pituitary has two main parts, the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe, each responsible for producing and releasing different hormones. Understanding the pituitary gland's position and connection to the hypothalamus helps us grasp how it regulates many vital bodily processes, making it central to the endocrine system and overall health. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Now let's take a closer look at the glandular tissue of the anterior pituitary. It is divided into three main parts, the pars distalis, the pars intermedia, and the pars tuberalis. Each of these regions has a specific role and structure. The pars distalis is the largest and most active part, where most hormone production occurs. The pars intermedia is a thin layer that lies between the pars distalis and the posterior pituitary, and it plays a role in producing certain hormones, especially in early life. The pars tuberalis surrounds the infundibulum and is involved in regulating hormone secretion in response to signals from the hypothalamus. Within this glandular tissue, you'll find different types of cells, including acidophils, basophils, and chromophobes. Acidophils stain with acidic dyes and include cells that produce growth hormone and prolactin. Basophils stain with basic dyes and are responsible for secreting hormones like adrenocorticotropic hormone, thyroid-stimulating hormone, and the gonadotropins. Chromophobes are less stained and may represent either resting or degranulated cells, or stem cells that can differentiate into other cell types. Understanding this cellular diversity and structural organization helps us appreciate how the anterior pituitary functions as a master regulator of many hormonal pathways. It's fascinating how these different cell types and regions work together to maintain hormonal balance throughout the body. Neural tissue. This slide highlights that the posterior pituitary contains neural tissue, which is quite different from other glandular tissues. It specifically contains axons that originate from the hypothalamus, which are crucial for hormone transport. These axons carry hormones produced in the hypothalamus down to the posterior pituitary for storage and release. Additionally, you'll notice the presence of pituocytes, which are specialized glial cells that support and nourish these neural elements. Understanding this neural connection helps us see how the hypothalamus and posterior pituitary work together as part of the neuroendocrine system. It's fascinating how the nervous system directly influences hormone release here, connecting neural signals to endocrine responses. And this is a key theme in understanding hormone regulation and body homeostasis. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. The thyroid gland is located in the anterior part of the neck, right at the front. It has a distinctive shape with two lobes, the right and the left, connected in the middle by a thin band called the isthmus. This structure is quite important because it allows the gland to be positioned clearly in the neck, making it accessible for both function and clinical assessment. The thyroid is made up of tiny structures called follicles, and these are filled with a substance called colloid. The follicles are the functional units of the gland, where thyroid hormones are produced and stored. Understanding this basic anatomy helps us appreciate how the thyroid regulates vital processes like metabolism and growth. So, in summary, the thyroid's location, its lobes connected by the isthmus, and its follicular structure filled with colloid are fundamental to its role in our endocrine system. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Now, let's take a closer look at the parathyroid glands. There are 4 small glands located on the posterior aspect of the thyroid gland. Despite their small size, they play a crucial role in calcium regulation. Within these glands, you'll find different cell types, mainly chief cells and oxyphil cells. The chief cells are responsible for secreting parathyroid hormone, which helps maintain balanced calcium levels in the blood. The oxyphil cells are less well understood, but are thought to have a supportive or perhaps a metabolic role. Overall, the parathyroid glands are essential for maintaining calcium homeostasis, which is vital for many physiological processes like nerve function and muscle contraction. So even though they're tiny, they have a big impact on our health. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. The thymus is located right behind the sternum, which is the breastbone in the middle of your chest. It has 2 lobes, and these lobes are made up of 2 main parts, the cortex and the medulla. The cortex is the outer part, and the medulla is the inner part of each lobe. One interesting thing to note is that the thymus is especially prominent in children. That's because it plays a crucial role in developing the immune system during early life. As we grow older, the thymus gradually shrinks, but it's vital in shaping our immune defenses when we're young. So, understanding the thymus helps us appreciate how our immune system starts and develops right from childhood. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Today, I want to highlight the pancreas as a retroperitoneal organ, meaning it lies behind the peritoneal cavity, which is an important anatomical detail. One of its key roles is endocrine function, specifically through structures called the islets of Langerhans. These islets are tiny clusters of cells that produce crucial hormones. Within these islets, there are different types of cells, primarily alpha, beta, and delta cells. Each of these has a specific role. Alpha cells produce glucagon, which raises blood sugar. Beta cells produce insulin, which lowers blood sugar. And delta cells produce somatostatin, which helps regulate the activity of the other cells. Understanding these cells and their functions is vital because they are central to how the body manages blood glucose levels. So, when we think about the pancreas, remember that its endocrine component, especially the islets of Langerhans, is essential for maintaining metabolic balance, linking directly to the overall theme of endocrine regulation in the body. The adrenal glands are located on top of the kidneys, acting as small but vital endocrine organs. The outer layer, called the cortex, is divided into 3 distinct zones, each responsible for producing different hormones. These zones work together to regulate various functions like metabolism, immune response, and stress adaptation. Beneath the cortex lies the medulla, which contains specialized chromaffin cells. These cells are crucial because they produce catecholamines, such as adrenaline and noradrenaline, that are essential for the body's fight-or-flight response. Overall, the adrenal glands play a key role in maintaining hormonal balance and helping us respond effectively to stress. Understanding their structure and function is fundamental to grasping how our endocrine system supports overall health. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Endocrine glands play a crucial role in regulating our major body functions, ensuring everything runs smoothly. These glands release hormones that influence growth, metabolism, and even mood. At the top of this system, we have the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, which act as the control center. They coordinate and regulate the activity of other endocrine glands, kind of like a command hub. To summarize, these glands are essential for maintaining balance and harmony within our body. Understanding how they work together helps us appreciate the complexity and elegance of our body's regulatory systems.